Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be diving into the Bitcoin price, analyzing the recent breakout that we are seeing, why I believe that we are now seeing the early stages before we are about to start this next new all-time high. And then we're going to be talking about one of my favorite cryptos, and that is XRP, mapping out where it's at right now. It's currently retesting its main support. I firmly believe that this is going to be the last retest that we have before we break out of this downtrend. Guys, this is going to be a huge cycle where many of the different altcoins that people have forgot about are going to perform exceptionally well, and I think that XRP is brewing for something very special really soon. If you guys find any value in this video, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if you do want to see how I'm investing my portfolio long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Now guys, I wanted to jump into Bitcoin right off the bat because in the shorter time frames, Bitcoin has seen this massive breakout, and this is really fueled around this reversal that we're watching around this inverse head and shoulder. We can see that once we broke out of the neckline, we got a retest. We didn't even come all the way back down to retest it all the way, but either way, we just had a little bit more buy pressure. So as it stands, our target still is going to give us, pretty much a flush with these prior all-time highs. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin run up in here before even making another sort of pullback like that. Whether we go straight into that new all-time high and retest the all-time highs, I don't know for certain. I wouldn't be surprised to see some type of final shakeout before we do that. However, I don't care. For me, I was expecting that this was bullish. I was already buying different altcoins, posting signals because I had a feeling that this was most likely going to be breaking bullish. I didn't think that we'd be going lower past the 57K support, and then once we ended up breaking out of this inverse head and shoulder, we really have our confirmation that this reversal is in. And so looking at this, we're going to follow more of the same things. We're going to be looking at a target of this all-time high. However, don't be surprised if we did end up getting one kind of shakeout right in here before we did do that. Even though the market's looking bullish in the shorter time frames, you can still see a quick pullback. It's always possible. And as we're getting into this weekend, it's Friday, chances are Bitcoin's going to perform well, and I think the altcoins are going to do well. Generally, whenever Bitcoin is performing well to finish up the week, whenever the stock market closes, Bitcoin will continue to perform well, in that sort of weekend period. Along with the altcoins, I think we could expect to see a lot of altcoin profits, which is why, don't get too carried away by the correction. I wouldn't necessarily be trying to jump into fresh longs by any means because the market's already been rallying. We have a couple days of green in a row, pretty big green days in a row. So you don't want to be jumping into fresh longs chasing the price. You'd rather be waiting for some type of pullback, because now that we have the confirmation of this reversal, then we do know that any sort of pullback in a dip that we get is an opportunity to jump back into position. So just be aware of that moving forward with Bitcoin. Now guys, I want to take some time to talk about XRP because XRP looks really solid. We're currently just sitting right back on that main trend line that we've been at, and I think that now is looking like a really good time for anybody that's even looking to add to their long-term positions. We can see the XRP has just been coiling on this trend line basically since the COVID capitulation, right? Because we had COVID, we retested this again with the SEC lawsuit, and then after we started our bear market, we ended up coming right back down and pretty much have just stuck to this trend line and have been growing on it ever since. Now, XRP in the shorter time frames, it managed to come all the way back down and give us another retest. And so anybody that's currently accumulating down here, I think is going to be happy because there's a few things I look for when I'm analyzing market cycles. And I do believe that we're very close to the breakout point of XRP. Now you could wait for the breakout point because of the fact XRP has lagged and it's underperformed the rest of the market. You could just wait for that reversal to take place before jumping in. Or, if you're somebody that's willing to actually jump into these at a little bit of an earlier point, what we're looking at here on our long-term downtrend, we've been growing inside of this triangle for a long period of time. And we're really reaching the very ending of this triangle, I guess you could say the apex of this triangle, because we don't have a whole lot left to go before we're pretty much either just at the breakdown or breakup point. And do I think that we're going to be breaking down? I don't at all. I think that XRP is for sure going to be going into a new all-time high because it's definitely one of the most adopted cryptos out there. They've only built more with Flare, with Songbird, with their entire layer 1 network. I kind of think that XRP as a whole is going to do really, really well. Now, in the shorter time frames, all we're really waiting for is once we get outside of this descending resistance, because that's going to be the big setup. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen in a big candle, kind of like what we saw over in here, where it just kind of makes this big breakout and then we kind of pull back down, maybe even come all the way back down to retest that before the bigger move. I'm not 100% certain how the breakout is going to play out because we have a couple different ways. We can see a big move and kind of hold higher support up in here, or we could come back down and sort of retest off of this trend line, truly cement the higher high and do something more along the lines of this. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but the real thing that I think with XRP is once we get outside of this descending resistance, I'm not really thinking it's just going to trend sideways for very long. You know, all the sideways trending and all the accumulation has been going through here. So once the breakout happens, I think it's going to be a lot more of a big candle, potentially just straight up to this $1.30-40 region, make a small pullback before we really just start those next stages up like that. That would be a lot more along the lines of what I would expect, more bull flag type triangle consolidations as we just start breaking out and making quick impulses. Because historically speaking, not just XRP, but that's the way cryptos move as a whole. Even cryptos that have had new cycles, the ones that have been around for prior cycles that have gone even into new all-time highs, there's always a period where they kind of have to shake out the weak hands as they go back up. But, you know, nonetheless, generally what we see at the beginning of those stages is quick impulses, little pullbacks, and then the market just kind of skyrockets into new all-time highs. So when I'm looking at XRP, the big thing we're looking at on the long term is really more of the same sort of things. The only difference is on the log scale, our resistance is going to be up here a little bit higher before we get a confirmed breakout. But nonetheless, this is all pretty much the same. Just a big triangle consolidation before we're at the point of breaking out. And so when I'm looking at the log scale, I wouldn't be surprised if this next breakout actually took us all the way up about like around $2. That would be getting us outside of our log descending resistance, and then a retest back down to like $1.10 would kind of put us up perfectly for that next leg up. And so I'm not going to be surprised if we end up seeing something a little bit more along the lines of this, where it's a really big impulse, it goes all the way up to that $2 region, we make a pullback, it could go down a little bit lower than this, maybe all the way back down to the high that we made at 90 cents with the SEC when the finalization of that lawsuit came through. But this is honestly what I'm expecting from XRP. It's not going to wait around. It's not going to take all of this sideways accumulation. Once this thing breaks out of its downtrend, it's pretty much just going to go. It reminds me a lot of the same consolidation that we ended up seeing with Bitcoin. If we come all the way back over and look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin made this exact same sort of setup in its last cycle, where we have this big triangle type consolidation. And then that triangle, once we broke out of it, we broke out, retested it, and then the market instantly went parabolic. That's what you expect inside of a triangle consolidation. Once you break out of them, it's pretty much just, you know, straight up from there. So when I'm looking at XRP, really just following a lot of those same sort of correlations in price, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see the market make this big breakout to the upside in a similar way that it did right over in here, where we kind of run up, get above $2, come back down and retest that level at about $1, maybe even all the way down to 90 cents, it's possible. But our log support is going to basically be $1.10. So that's where we're going to be watching for a reversal from that point. But it's exactly the same setup. We're still going to be looking at one of these going into that new all-time high. Now, where is that all-time high going to be? My target has always been $28, and I'm still going to be sticking to that. I think it's a possible target that we could see. You know, if XRP really starts running into a big new cycle, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see something like that. $28 would be a pretty massive move from where we're at right now. You know, approximately about a 50x, but I think a 50x is more than reasonable. If we're talking the true super cycle where all of this institution money is in here, where we have the most retail adoption than ever before, I have a lot of confidence that these markets are going to be going into a massive move. Seeing all of these OG altcoins that have kind of been around for all of this time, just making these big consolidations, it really does point towards us having a much bigger move coming very soon. So when we're looking at these next cycles coming in, we shouldn't really be waiting at the opportunity to jump in back down at these main trend lines, because once these breakouts happen, they're going to happen really quickly. Now, the next chart I wanted to cover over here is going to be XRP against Bitcoin, because I think that this is going to be the most important thing we need to be watching for when the real reversal is going to set in. You know, looking at when we have reversed historically, we can see that every single time that we've tagged this sort of green line back down in here, or I guess you could say box, that has produced the cycle lows for XRP against Bitcoin. Happened right here in 2014, happened right here in 2017, it happened over in here when we retested it after the SEC lawsuit, and we're coming right back down into contact with that same level once again today. And so when I'm looking out and I'm seeing all of this, I do think that we're having multiple different points of interest that are lining up, where we're finally getting that retest of this support. Everybody's going to assume that this is dead. However, this in and of itself is a double bottom formation. And if we were to retest this, break back above this level here, basically being 0.00004 Bitcoin, that's where we're going to be expecting to see an entire trend reversal, you know, all the way into a new all-time high, something like this. It'd be a lot more parabolic though. Bitcoin, the Bitcoin pairs end up just moving pretty much vertically, because the flipping point where people rotate Bitcoin profits into altcoins is very short-lived. It doesn't happen all that often. So once it happens, it's pretty much just instantaneous on the way up, like what we've seen over in here. But what I find interesting is now that we're coming into contact with this same level that historically speaking has produced reversals, we're literally looking at XRP right at that point of the ending of its triangle before we start that next major move. There's a lot of different points of interest lining up that are showing that XRP is looking very bullish right now. And one of my favorite things when I'm looking at the price of XRP, if we came back down to a daily time frame, all we're doing is just repeating the same sort of consolidation that we were at leading into our last cycle, right? It just takes more time to get that same type of a move. So when I zoom out and I look at both of these charts, I pretty much see the same similarities in structure between the cycle top and then this would have been the same as this consolidation here, this sort of false inverse head and shoulder that played out before we broke down. Then we even went into the same sort of consolidation here. You know, we ended up coming back down to another low. Same thing here. And then even just this sideways consolidation is a lot of the same type of stuff that we're seeing right now. All these Bitcoin pairs do. It doesn't have to be exact. You know, I was drawing this fractal even in the last cycle, and I was obviously wrong about that. I was naive in assuming that it would take one cycle, one simple bear market to get the same type of a cycle as 2017. I wasn't aware that 2017 was such a unique cycle. You know, 2017 was really my first cycle. I got in early 2016, got to trade the entirety of 2017, and so I was under the impression that the following cycle would be a lot like how 2017 was, only it wasn't. Now, because it wasn't, a lot of people assume that we're just never going to have another one of those cycles, but when we're looking at all of these long-term charts between our Bitcoin ratios, these are the charts that show altcoin season. And when these ratios pump, that's when we have true alt season. If you guys notice in the last cycle, we didn't even have one. It didn't pump at all. XRP didn't. Now, many people are going to say that, oh, well, that's because it's dead. It's never going to have one again. And that's just not the truth, guys. The truth of the matter is many of these altcoins that people have written off will have a new cycle. They will outperform their Bitcoin ratios. And we will have a brand new one of these that plays out and catches people off guard. I really believe that this is the cycle that we're going to see all of these altcoins take off in the same ways that they did in 2017, is really going to make a financial fortune for themselves because of how much upside potential plays out in these cycles. If we're talking about XRP doing a 25 to a 50x, imagine what all of the altcoins in its ecosystem are going to do. Imagine what all of the altcoins in these other chains are going to do. There's upside potential everywhere, regardless of whether you're buying a high cap crypto or not. And I wanted to break these down to give you guys, you know, some basic understanding that I see, how I see the market playing out, so that maybe you guys can make a little bit of profit for yourself, understand how the big picture is playing out, because we see something that is very bullish, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So guys, if you find value, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys do want to see how I'm trading and investing over the cycle, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you guys so much for the support, and with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.